real strength of the aerospace supply chain, I think, is a long heritage of having done design and manufacture in aerospace. And that's created a capability that is a proud capability that we need to expand in the UK. I mean, there's a combination there of having world-class research, world-class manufacturing and world-class people. And what we now need to do is obviously bring those together in order to create world-class competitive capability. A beneficiary company has to manage its objectives. It has to create a single set of coordinated objectives. So the sharing and growth objectives will have to be entirely aligned to whatever the business wants to achieve. So we can't afford a situation where we've got conflicting objectives. We only have one objective within sharing and growth, which is to help the companies to achieve their objectives and their ambitions. So all of our activities need to reinforce the things that we'll do in order to get them to their ambitions. I have a mental model that helps me to try to rationalise the various different things that companies need to do to improve. And that model is based on a three-legged stool, and within the elements of the three-legged stool, any company that wants to grow in aerospace needs to concentrate on technology. It needs to concentrate obviously on where is it going to generate the cash in order to reinvest in its capital and infrastructure. But I think perhaps most importantly it needs to concentrate on how it creates the capability in their people. I mean, after all, a business, a company is a company of people and the value that they create. Now, part of that is about having a very clear vision what you want for the organisation, articulated through a plan and a strategy that people can buy into, so that when you ask the question, why do I need to do this, the companies and the people feel automatically engaged in what they're doing. So engagement is a process of getting people bought into what the future state is going to look like, both from a principle and from ideas, and therefore from efforts as well afterwards. I think governments have a role to play. That aerospace industry is hugely valuable to any developed economy. It provides very high value employment. It draws people through from education. It's a very creative, it's a very rewarding type of industry. So there's no doubt that aerospace is something that is important for the country as much as it is for the large companies that drive the sector. Now, you then have to ask the question, what is it that would help companies to grow and to accelerate their growth more quickly? And that leads to the question, therefore, which bits of those could companies readily access themselves? In a free market, they could go to their investors, and which are the bits that they would struggle to achieve? My argument is that there is root access to technology, not enough, so they need support. There is access to capital, not enough, but they need support. But it's actually very hard to get support around the development of the people. So I think governments actually would make sense for them to concentrate on creating the environment for people to grow, which actually is a lasting investment in the country. Office of National Statistics data has come out for a number of years now that the aerospace industry is growing, and it's growing in its revenues. So that's dominated by the large companies, the Rolls-Royces, the Airbuses, the GKNs of this world, who are managing to capture a share of the aerospace market. But what we're seeing underlying that is that the value add, in other words, the amount of valuable work that is actually being done in the UK, has remained relatively flat. So therefore the proportion of that revenue that is actually value-added work in the UK is reducing over time. Now, a lot of that work is done in the supply chain. So a reduction in that is symptomatic of the fact that the work that is not being done by the large companies is not sticking to the UK. And I think that's supported by anecdotal evidence as well as the Office of National Statistics data. So to create a healthy ecosystem of aerospace in the UK, we've got to make sure we have strength within the supply chain so that we can retain the value, which is ultimately the employment, which is the people and what they do. So not only are the large companies actually generating market share, but it's creating wealth in the deeper supply chain in the UK.